In the days of Joseon, the last great dynastic kingdom of Korea before the traumatic arrival of modernity, Confucian thought held sway over the minds of king and peasant alike, supplanting the spiritual embrace of Buddhism, which had at one time been the state religion. In his cautionary tale, Im Bang, a Joseon civil servant, writer, and Buddhist faithful, warns the reader of this folly, showing the eternal torment awaiting non-believers through the eyes of Hong Naebeom, a real-life 16th century governor in what is now North Korea. Hong Naebeom was a civil servant who was born in the year 1561 and lived in the city of Pyongyang. He passed the state examination in the year 1603 and in 1637 became an official of the third rank. In 1643, when Hong turned 82, Son, his son, petitioned the king to award his father a rank appropriate to his great age. At that time, a certain Han Hong-gil was chief of the royal secretaries, and he refused to pass on the request to His Majesty. However, a year later, in 1644, when the crown prince was returning home from his exile in neighboring China, he came by way of Pyongyang. Son took advantage of this and presented him with the same request. This time, His Highness received it and had it brought to the notice of his father the king. In consequence, Hong Naebeom was promoted to the second rank. Upon receiving the appointment, he said, "This year I shall die," and not long after he did so. Yet his words were not merely the product of an eerily accurate premonition. In 1594, when Hong was a young man, he fell ill of typhus fever, and after 10 days of suffering died. His family conducted the proper funeral rites and placed his body in a coffin ready for burial. Then the friends and relatives left, with Hong's widow remaining alone in charge. All of a sudden, with a great exhalation of breath, the body of her dead husband turned itself and fell to the ground with a thud. The terrified woman fainted clean away. As she did so, other family members came rushing back to her aid. Before their eyes, the reviving body rose, resuming its normal functions. Hong Naebeom had returned to life. When calm had been restored, Hong told them of the strange journey he had made during his death. "In my dream," said he, "I went to a certain place where ahead of me was a large building, a government office. It was a place of great fear where there were many people seemingly just standing around, and there were awful ogres, some of them wearing bulls' heads, and some with the faces of other wild beasts. At the sight of me they crowded about and jumped and pounced towards me from all directions. Then a scribe robed in black and sitting on a platform addressed me, saying, 'Hong Naebeom, you have ever been a blasphemer of the Buddha. You, the Confucian scholar who denies the existence of heaven and hell, where the deeds of man, both good and evil, are decided. You, ever a denier of reincarnation, blustering and storming about, always as though through your earthly ideals alone you knew everything. You, therefore, shall be sent to hell, and shall not see your way out of it, even if the world may die and be reborn 10,000 times over.' Then 2 or 3 demon lieutenants carrying harpoons came and took me away. In protest, I screamed, "You are wrong! I have lived an honest life and committed no sin. How can it be just to go to hell simply for being a Confucian scholar?" Just at that moment, as I was trying in vain to free myself from the demon's grasp, a smiling golden bodhisattva appeared. Addressing me, he said, "Hong Naebeom of Pyongyang, there is truly a mistake somewhere. You must attain to the age of 83, whereupon you shall become an officer of the second rank ere you die. How is it that you have come here? It is Hong Naebeom of Jeonju that is to die, not Hong Naebeom of Pyongyang." He continued, saying, "But now that you have come, look about the place before you go, and tell the earthly world above of what you have seen." The demon guards, upon hearing this, took me in hand and brought me, now in the capacity of guides, first of all to a prison house, where a sign was posted up, marked with the words, "Sowers of Discord." I saw in this prison a great brazier-shaped pit, built of stone and filled with fire. Flames poured out of it like forked tongues. The fallen men who had become sowers of discord were taken and made to sit close before it, feeling in full force the unbearable heat. I then saw one infernal guard take a long rod of iron, heat it red hot, and then use it to put out the eyes of the guilty ones. I saw also that the offenders were hung up like dried fish. The guides who accompanied me said, "While they were on earth, they did not love their brethren, but instead looked upon others as enemies. They scoffed at the laws of the divine and sought only selfish gain. So they are punished." The next hell was marked Defamers. In that hell I saw an iron pillar of several yards in height and a great stone placed before it. Here the offenders were called up and made to kneel before the pillar. Then I saw an executioner take a sharp knife, drive a hole through their tongues, pass a sharp hook through each piercing, and hang them to the pillar so that they dangled by their tongues several feet from the ground. Heavy stones were then taken and tied to each culprit's feet. With the stones thus bearing down and the hooks being fastened to the pillar, their tongues were pulled out a foot or more, and their eyes rolled in their sockets. Their agonies were appalling. A guide, speaking again, said, "While on earth, they used their tongues skillfully to deceive and separate friend from friend, and so they are punished." The third hell had inscribed on it the word liars. I saw in this hell many scores of people. There were ogres cutting the flesh from their bodies, boiling it in an iron pot and eating it. The ravenous monsters ate and ate, even the bones that remained. Yet, when the monsters used fans to blow the winds of hell at the remains, the bones returned to the skeletons and the flesh returned to the bones, restoring the bodies as before. This time they were devoured by iron snakes and copper dogs, sucking the blood from the flesh and the marrow from the bones. The screams of pain from the condemned made the very ground tremble. Once again the guide spoke, saying, "While on earth, these offenders held high office, and though they pretended to be true and good, they received bribes in secret and were doers of all evil. As ministers of state, they ate the fat of the land and sucked the blood of the people, and yet advertised themselves as benefactors and were highly applauded. While in reality they lived as thieves, they pretended to be scholars like Confucius and Mencius. They were liars to the world, and so were punished thus." The guides then said, "It is not necessary that you see all of the hells." They said to one another, "Let's take him yonder and show him," indicating a place some distance away to the southeast. Upon reaching it, I saw a great house with a sign bearing the words, "The Home of the Enlightened." Entering, I saw beautiful clouds encircling me, and a warm haze spreading outward. There were hundreds of monks in cassocks. Some held Buddhist symbols of white jade, others blue lotus flowers. They were sat cross-legged like the Buddha, many of them reciting the Diamond or Nirvana Sutras. They were all of them great masters of the Bodhisattva. Once more the guide spoke to me, saying, "While on earth, these people observed the law and with undivided heart served the Buddha, and so have avoided the 8 sorrows and the 10 virtues, and entered the house of paradise, this place which we call heaven." When we had seen all these things, we then returned to the government office where I had first encountered the golden Bodhisattva. To me he said, "Not many on earth believe in the Buddha, and few know, therefore, of heaven and hell. What do you, who have now seen the truth, think of it all?" I bowed my head low in apology and gratitude. Then the black-robed scribe ordered his spirit soldiers to send me away, and as their demonic presence came near, I jumped with fear, and at the same time awakened with a start from my dream. Then I found that I had been dead for 4 days. Hong's mind was filled with pride on this account, and he frequently boasted of it. Years later, he reached the advanced age of 83 and was awarded 2nd rank, just as the Bodhisattva had predicted. Live, therefore, in harmony with your family and friends, with respect and loyalty. Make polite and correct speech the foundation for this harmony. Live a life free of greed, and you will not see hell like those in Hong Naebeom's vision. Yi Zhou of the ancient Chinese kingdom of Song once said, "If there is no heaven, there is no heaven. But if there is one, only the great man alone can attain to it. If there is no hell, there is no hell. But if there is one, the lesser man shall surely fall into it."